Hi, I'm Randy Hollenbeck, and this is the Music Roundtable. Today on the show, we have Mitch Swanger from hard rock band Silent Theory.
Hi.
Sticks and stones make shards of bone, but words cut through the surface. That's nothing compared to the acts of despair that we see go without purpose. Cut their limbs, they'll crawl with grins to find out if it's worth it. Mother, help us please, just a gentle breeze, we really don't deserve it.
Mitch, I wanted to just start out by digging into some of your history. How did you get into music? What age did you start playing the drums?
So I started drumming at a really young age. My dad is also a drummer, and there's pictures of me before I could even walk, sitting, like on his knees with drumsticks at his drum set and just banging on the drums. And I've always loved it. Um, I was that kid that I played sports and all that, but I really wanted to just be home drumming, right? So I was kind of a boring kid in that way, where most of my kids would be, or most of my friends and stuff would be out playing and everything, and I would be, playing the drums. Like I'd throw on like Rush moving pictures or something, and drum, or you what a Queen, Aerosmith, you name it, and I would just jam out, and until I pretty much had to go to bed. So um, yeah, I've been playing longer than I can even remember, actually.
Did you take any lessons, or did you just go by ear?
Most of it was by ear. When I was 10, I took 2 years, or what I started when I was 10. I took 2 years of drum lessons, and it was really just to be able to learn how to read drum sheet music. But yeah, only 2 years. The rest of it's all been just kind of trial and error, and just by ear. So, which honestly has not been great, because if you start, playing without any type of real instruction, you learn really bad habits right at the beginning that even as an adult now, I still have. And it's like, so my kids, I can tell my oldest is going to want to be a drummer too. So I'm like, do this, don't do this, do this, don't do this. Always wear headphones, because I didn't do any of that, and I'm certainly paying the price now.
Sometimes when you don't learn properly, some of that stuff comes into your own style.
That's fair. That is true.
Can you tell me some of your musical influences?
Yes. So I mentioned a few of them before, but growing up, I've always been a huge classic rock fan, diehard classic rock fan, and so I was obsessed with the Beatles growing up. I loved Aerosmith, Queen. I loved a lot of the '80s hair metal bands, so bands like Poison. I'm a huge Poison fan. Those guys are awesome. Um, diehard Rush fan, which I feel like is kind of a standard answer typically for drummers. Kind of going back to the original question about playing the drums, it was I had loved playing, but the first time I heard Rush's Moving Pictures, I was like, I don't know, I must have been about 12, and my dad, we were driving. I remember it like it was yesterday, and my dad was like, you being a drummer, you need to check out this band. You need to hear this drummer. And of course, I'd never heard of him. And he put on cassette tape, he had put on Rush's Moving Pictures, and he played Tom Sawyer. And I seriously was like, what is this? This is unbelievable. I have never heard anything like this. And it was literally like at that moment that I was like, I want to do this forever. You know what I mean? So yeah. So as far as like musical influences go, classic rock in general. But I would say Rush is what really like propelled me to want to actually play drums in a band and play in front of people. But I'm pretty eclectic, actually. You know, I love classic rock, but I also was a pretty big fan of like '90s country. Um, so I loved bands like Sawyer Brown. I still love Sawyer Brown a ton. Brooks and Dunn. Who else? I was a huge Billy Ray Cyrus fan. Like when Achy Breaky Heart came out, I still remember that. I loved all that. So I'm kind of all over the place as far as what's influenced me.
Can you tell me how Silent Theory formed?
Some of us were previously in a former band that was kind of on the outs, and we were under contract with a management company with that other band. And Scott, Bob, and I were all part of that band. And actually, our very first singer in Silent Theory, Nick Osborne, was also part of that band. And we knew that we had kind of hit that juncture where we knew we wanted to split off and kind of do our own thing. We were having some internal issues. There were other members of that band. We were having some internal issues. And the only way we could really get out of that based off our contract was to leave that band and basically start over. And that's what we did. So in 2010, Scott, Bob, and Nick and I, and then my youngest brother George had joined the band at that point too. So the five of us, we ended up going to a Mexican restaurant over I don't know how many pitchers of margaritas, and just trying to come up with a name because we had all the foundation already from what we were doing previously, and that had started about 2006 or seven. So like Scott and I and Bob had been in the band that whole time prior to that. So the foundations really started there, but the birth of Silent Theory was over the product of many, many margaritas, like on a Monday afternoon or something at one of our local Mexican restaurants. And it was funny because, uh, you hear all these really like bands will be asked like, well, where did you come up with this name? And there's some like really awesome backstory, deep meaning. We get that question almost every interview, and I always have to say there is literally zero cool story to it. There's really no meaning. Like we were drinking margaritas and somebody said Silent Theory, and we're like, hey, is that taken by anybody? No, all right, let's take it. So that's what we did. That's how it was. That's how it was formed.
What city is your band based out of?
Moscow, Idaho.
How's the music scene out there?
Moscow's a fairly small town. It's a college town. It's where the University of Idaho is, but it's fairly small. There's a ton of amazing local musicians around, but the scene is a little bit difficult, specifically where we're at, based off of the music that we play. So what's really popular in our area are like the coffee shop, jazz, singer songwriter type, musicians and bands. So we have a fair amount of those around, and they're great. But as far as like a band like us, it's really hard to play locally because there's just not much of the scene here. So, but there's a few really incredible bands. There's a band I'm really into called Runaway Symphony. That's I don't really know how I would even classify them. They're rock, but they've got amazing harmonies and they're really deep in their lyrics. I really enjoy that. But they're a band I really enjoy. That's from Moscow. So, but other than that, it's pretty small. Not a lot.
I wanted to dig into a couple of your songs here. You released the album Hunt or Be Hunted in May of 2021, and you have a song on there called Sticks and Stones. and I really like the dynamics of that song. Like it starts out with like a picking guitar, and then it builds to like drums and distorted guitar. I wondered if you could tell me how that song came together.
Yeah, so Sticks and Stones is actually one of my favorites within the entire catalog of everything we've done. Sticks and Stones is one of my favorites, and probably still to this day my favorite to play. As far as how it came together, we were on tour um, in the Midwest, and Scott, who is our lead guitarist, had an acoustic guitar, and he was kind of strumming that intro picking riff you were talking about. He was just kind of noodling on it, and I remember Dakota, who sings for us now, he was sitting on the other couch, and he was like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, what is that?" Scott's like, just something I'm noodling on, and Dakota kind of picked up that intro riff and ran with it. And so a lot, like, I don't know how much of that tour Dakota sat and actually wrote out the vocals to Sticks and Stones, but it's pretty interesting because how it appears today, like how it ended up on the album, was how it was essentially written on our bus on tour. And so yeah, it's I don't know, it's really fun to play. Lyrically, we were kind of and I don't want to speak for Dakota, but I remember at the time we were having some fallout with a management company we were with at the time, and we were really butting heads. And um, I remember Dakota used a lot of that to as kind of as leverage for launching that song. So, and there was a lot of, and I don't want to air dirty laundry, but there was a lot of like back and forth between us and the management company. A lot of things were said. So if you listen to Dakota's lyrics, like the premise of the Sticks and Stones, may break my bones, that's basically what it's based off of kind of just this like, whatever, we're going to just keep moving. So.
Shoulders bearing too much weight, so knees begin to buckle. Replace need for fame, so now I'm ashamed. You're what they'll find among the rubble. Kings and queens go without thrones. Hey, are you getting nervous? Mother, help us, please. Breaking arms and knees just to keep up with the circus. Just to keep up with the... It's getting hard to sleep without that fire burning deep. Why would you take that away? So put us back in our place, spit in our face, it makes the hurt better. Don't ever take that away.
You guys just recently released the album, Theoretically Speaking, the Acoustic Sessions Volume 1 in July 2022. And you have a song on there that was also on Hunt or Be Hunted. It's called Shaking Cages. And I like how you added the violin in on the acoustic version. Can you tell me a story about that song?
Yes. So same thing, kind of like our songs really, most of our songs begin with begin with Scott or I noodling around with some piece of music, being like, whoa, that's cool, and then like building it, like transforming it or forming it to a place where Dakota can then write the lyrics to it. But ironically, with Shaking Cages, it was another situation similar to Sticks and Stones where we weren't on tour, but we were in the studio. And I don't remember who was tracking at the time, but Scott and Dakota were just sitting in the live room, and Scott was noodling again, and Dakota was like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, what is that?" and started writing "Shaking Cages" during that time too. And same similar story, like how you hear it now is essentially how it was written. And so, and the interesting thing about Shaking Cages, the original version, the heavy version, Dakota's got a really unique talent where he can rap insanely fast. I mean, insanely fast. And I've always like we've always been like I've always appreciated bands that can add different elements into rock music. I mean, I like bare bones rock music, but I love new metal. I love rap rock. I love all that. You know, if it sounds great, I love it. And Dakota, it's so funny because forever we were like, Dakota, that is such a unique talent of yours. We should do that in one of our songs. And he was always like, nah, nah. And he would kind of do this rapping like he does it in Sticks and Stones a little bit. And you listen to some of our songs, he does it. And finally he was like, okay, guys, I'll do it. So in that second verse, he's got that rap, which was awesome. And it's funny because uh, every show we do, the biggest applause we probably get in the night is the second he finishes that rap and there's that dead space. People go nuts because I think a lot of people don't think he can actually do that live, right? You know, like, is this all pieced together? And like, no, he legitimately can do it live and he does it live. And so it's pretty cool. So when we were and Shaking Cages is by far one of our biggest hits, if not our biggest hit currently. And honestly, a lot of it's thanks to TikTok, which is kind of cool. Somebody had taken a sound clip of our intro, and it just like went viral, which was awesome. That was great for us. So, but when we were talking about doing the acoustic album, one of the things we also want to do is try and make the acoustic stuff, you know, somewhat different. Or I don't know, I'm not a huge fan of like acoustic versions that are identical to the original I don't know, that's just me. I know some people like it, but like Silent Theory, we want to kind of expand it. And so when we were talking about doing this acoustic album, you know, we were like, let's actually get some live strings in here, right? Nothing, no MIDI, no, like, let's get somebody in here to do it. And so the song Alice on there, but also Shaking Cages has the phenomenal Gunnar Nelson doing the violin on those tracks. And what's amazing about Gunnar is he had asked for the tracks not too, you know, long prior to the studio days, and he just showed up and knocked it out in like 2 takes. So that, I mean, that just goes to show his talent level. I mean, there's been times we've been in the studio and it takes us like days, right? And he, yeah, knocks out these violin pieces in you know 2 takes, right? Like a morning. So yeah, so is that's how we got it to, you know. And if you notice, it's funny because me being the drummer, if you listen to the theoretically speaking, there's no drums. There's some percussion, but there are no drums. So it was kind of nice because I got to sit back and just like enjoy it, you know, and not have the pressure of recording anything. So I could supervise and be critical, you know. So
I guess the way I feel is the way that I felt before. High tide, salt in my gut, these are things that I can't ignore. But should I collapsing on myself like an iron core? Don't count me out just yet. Just yet. Just yet. I see a light on the horizon, this is do or die. The rope I grip is ripping off my skin, but I won't let it take my life. I know this is far more than I had bargained for. I have lost that spark again.
Like when you were saying about Dakota doing that rap, it just adds another, you know, dimension to that song, you know, when he does that.
I think so too. And like I said, it's fairly unique. I mean, obviously, there are people that can certainly rap that fast, and you hear it a lot in hip hop, but you really don't hear it in like hard rock or metal. And so that's what we were trying to fuse together.
What do you guys got planned for the rest of 2022?
We're rolling out some new music, and so we just released. Theoretically speaking, in July, we rolled out 3 acoustic videos from those sessions, and then actually, I'm about to announce it later today on the socials. So I guess this will be the first place in the world that I do announce it. We are releasing another new heavy track called "So Far So Good" that will be released October 7th, and so we'll have that released. Then we're coming up on, later on into the holidays. So other than releasing this and trying to push So Far So Good, we'll probably just use the rest of the time to write and get more stuff ready for studio. Normally we would probably like to do a fall tour. However, with how insanely expensive it is to be on the road right now, it's just not doable, unfortunately, for us. And so probably not going to hit the road until next spring. But we'll be releasing new music and videos and then using the downtime to write. And that'll take us throughout the rest of the year.
This new song, is that going to be just a single, or is that going to be part of an album in the future?
It's coming out as a single, obviously now. We're kind of split on the album thing down the middle. Some of us are really old school. Like, I'm an album guy. I grew up in the 90s. And so, like, I love full albums. Like, I would take those any day over singles. But then we have young guys in the band too that are like, it's outdated. It's all about the singles and the algorithms and yada, yada, yada. So I don't know. We'll see. If at some point, depending on what we release, it'll probably make like a compilation of songs as far as a hard copy album. I don't know when though.
Where can we get a hold of you guys? Facebook, Instagram, Twitter?
Everywhere, all the above. So Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. We're on TikTok. We finally ended up on TikTok. We were really late to the game, but we're on there. If you're listening to music, we're on every platform, Spotify, Pandora, Apple Music, Amazon Music, you name it. Wherever you have internet, we're there. We have a pretty large YouTube presence, and we take a lot of pride in our videos, so you can check us out there. And then we've got a website, silenttheory.com, that has videos, pictures, normally has tour dates, but nothing there at the moment. But we do also have a web store. So shirts, hats, we do have physical CDs on there, signed posters. So if anybody's interested in merch, they can go to silenttheory.com.
Okay. That's all the questions I have. Thanks for coming on the show today. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
No, I just thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
To bury. Never let it set it, and I really underestimated all the decimated people living day to day, and then it hit me like a truck. I find that change my limitation, trading mass assimilation for a better education. As ignorant and devastated, wobble limitation, flawed in every single way. I hope it took my medication. It's upsetting. I can see the overwhelming fascination. Armageddon's not the one you want, but it's the one you're getting. So this well is stronger than it was before, but I'm still afloat for now. Well, I'm going to keep lighting fires till someone finds us. I'm sure it won't